Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today I'm going to be going over 10 helpful items that you need to own in GTA Online, and I've really tried to think outside of the box for this list. It's not just going to be your typical list of a bunch of cars and things like that you're going to need that are just really generic, like an Amani Tech vehicle, for example, or like a Night Shark. These are going to be more so items that you can like carry on your character, outfits, certain weapons, and maybe potentially things that can help you to earn money a little bit quicker and just generally more efficiently. So anyway guys, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. If not, dislike. Of course, feel free to wait till the end before doing so, and do consider subscribing to my channel. We just hit 300k and I want to keep that momentum going, so I would appreciate it if you guys do. Of course, only if you find my content useful or good. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with number 10. At number 10, we have the bulletproof helmet. This is going to cost you around $20,000. Depending on the variant you get, it might be a little more expensive or it might be a little less expensive. Now this actually does allow you to get shot in the head more than not having one. Typically it allows you to take 2 to 3 shots to the head depending on the weapon that you are being shot with, as opposed to getting instantly killed with whatever weapon hits you in the head from at least pretty close range. Now unfortunately this will not protect against the heavy sniper Mark II, but against the marksman rifle and lower damaging heavy weapons like that, you will be able to actually take some extra shots, which is pretty cool, as you guys can see here in the video. So obviously this actually works against players, but it also works against NPCs as well. So if you guys want a little bit of extra protection for doing missions or against players, a bulletproof helmet is a good idea to have. However, there is something else that you guys are going to need to know later on in the video, so stick around before you actually go and buy a bulletproof helmet. Moving on to number 9, we have the scuba suit. Now this is going to cost you around $155,000 to $165,000 depending on the colorway that you actually go for. But owning the scuba suit and saving it as a custom outfit so you can use it whenever you want through the interaction menu can actually be extremely helpful. The scuba suit allows you to stay underwater indefinitely, while it also increases your swimming speed by about 50%. Now this is obviously pretty useful for any missions that have anything to do with water, and I would always recommend having one saved as an outfit that is always available through the interaction menu to quickly switch into before you jump into the water. If you guys are familiar with My Manhunt series or the Hide and Seek series, you know how often I use the scuba suit and just how helpful it can truly be. Overall, it's an awesome thing, and you guys should definitely invest into having one. I really do think it is worth it for anything to do with the water. Next up at number 8, we have the flare gun, and the flare gun might seem like a really weird one to put on this list, and to the average player it definitely seems like a completely useless and only really cosmetic item. However, using the flare gun, you can actually redirect guided missiles that are coming after you. Now this is obviously quite helpful for getting missiles that are meant to be hitting you to redirect somewhere else and miss you entirely, potentially even shooting them back at the person who shot them at you, depending on the vehicle that they are shooting with. For example, if they're in something like the Buzzard or a larger attack helicopter, you may even be able to redirect the missile right back to them, which is pretty cool. In order to do this, you have to wait for the missile to be fired and in the air, and then shoot a flare, and it will redirect, as you guys can see in the background gameplay right here. Pretty cool. A lot of people don't seem to know about this, and I do think it is a pretty useful thing to know, and definitely a useful gadget to have at your disposal. Number 7, we have the assault shotgun, and this thing is going to run you around $10,000, and with upgrades it might get up to like 30k or so. But the assault shotgun, short of explosives, is the best weapon in all of GTA Online for clearing out close range areas. It's fully automatic and can be equipped with a suppressor, a 32 round drum magazine, a grip, and of course a sight. Now I swear by this weapon when it comes to doing anything within its range. Even when you're shooting at enemies that are pretty far away, close to the maximum effective range of the weapon, it will put nearly everything out of commission in a very short time frame, and if it doesn't put them out of commission right away, it typically will knock enemies over, which is going to render them unable to shoot at you for a few seconds, which will allow you to get a little bit closer. This thing does super high damage, and with the 32 round drum mag on it, it is absolutely insane. With the suppressor on it as well, it does sound really cool too, in my opinion at least, and I honestly think this is probably the best investment you can make as a lower level player in GTA Online. The assault shotgun is my second favorite weapon in the entire game, only behind the heavy sniper Mark II. This thing is just so effective, and it's been very solid for me ever since I got it. As soon as I got to like level 10, I want to say it was, or maybe level 30. I can't remember when you unlock it, but I remember buying it for the first time and I have used it ever since. It is a very good weapon and you must own one. At number 6, we got the Pegassi Pizza Boy. this is going to run you $195,000. And the reason that I've included this seemingly useless vehicle on this list is due to the fact that having a custom pizza boy can make delivering your pizzas much more efficient, because instead of using the regular stock pizza boy with no upgrades, you can use a fully upgraded pizza boy, which will allow you to complete delivery jobs much faster. If you have a custom variant of the pizza boy, you will automatically spawn in on it, and it will be made known to you via the turbo sound of the pizza boy, because you can't upgrade it with a turbo. So assuming you put a turbo on it, you'll know that you're on the custom bike, but as long as you own one, you will always spawn on the custom bike whenever you do start a pizza delivery job. Obviously, this can help you to complete the job a lot faster, because having a fully upgraded pizza boy versus a stock pizza boy is going to be much faster, way better acceleration, better top speed, and everything like that. So this is definitely something to buy, especially if you're a lower level player and you're doing some things to just earn your first money in GTA. This is a very good thing to do, because the pizza deliveries can actually make you quite a bit of money, and if you can do them faster and more efficiently, that is obviously better. But even if you are a higher level, you should still have a custom pizza boy in case you ever do need to do the pizza deliveries. Number 5, we got the Willard Eudora, another seemingly useless vehicle. However, some of you will probably know where I'm going with this. This thing is going to cost you $1,250,000, and don't get me wrong, it is a useless vehicle in almost every single sense. However, if you unlock the taxi livery for the vehicle by completing 10 stunt jumps while doing taxi fares in the default taxi that you get for going to the downtown cab company and signing up for taxi fares, you can actually equip the special taxi livery on the Willard Eudora and begin using this vehicle to complete taxi work. And obviously you can also go and upgrade the Willard Eudora to be a custom vehicle, which will allow you to complete taxi fares much faster, because you're going to get a much better top speed, much better handling, and generally a much more pleasant experience when you do the taxi jobs. Now, this is of course pretty similar to what we just talked about with the pizza boy, and this can increase the efficiency of your taxi work by a significant margin, because this thing is so much faster. The top speed on this vehicle is about 40 kilometers per hour faster than the regular taxi, which is very useful. Now, there's also a taxi livery for the Classique Broadway, but that car is much slower than the Eudora, so I would advise against using it. And taxi work has also gotten significantly better as time has gone on since it first came out, so you can actually make a pretty decent amount of money with it now, especially if you use a custom vehicle like the Willard Eudora. Next up at number 4, we have another weapon, and this is the Combat MG Mark II. It's going to cost you $14,800 for the initial Combat MG purchase, plus $119,000 for the Combat MG Mark II. Now, this thing actually has the fastest time to kill on players in GTA Online, short of like the minigun or the heavy weapon categories, as well as the heavy sniper Mark II, which will obviously insta-kill if you get a headshot or an upper body shot. But the Combat MG Mark II is the fastest non-heavy category, non-sniper, fully automatic weapon in the game. This thing can also be paired with a huge 200 round box, and this weapon is extremely good against players and NPCs alike. Obviously, the huge amount of ammo that it has in one singular magazine is pretty helpful. It's also upgradable with things like the heavy barrel, as well as several muzzle attachments, grips, and sights, and you can really dial this thing in to be exactly how you want it to be. Overall, it's very accurate, very fast fire rate. It is a great gun, and you should absolutely invest your money into getting one of these sooner than later. At number 3, we have the quad lens helmet. Now, these range from $77,000 to about $100,000, and this is similar to the bulletproof helmet. The quad lens helmets allow you to get shot in the head more than not having one. In fact, they give you the exact same level of protection as the regular bulletproof helmet. However, the quad lens helmets give you access to thermal, and when you want to use this, you will need to have the visor set to the down position through the interaction menu before you can do this, just so you are aware. You can also activate thermal by going into the interaction menu, go to appearance, then into accessories, and then go to helmets, and within that sub menu you will find the option to activate thermal. Now, this is super useful for when you are in dark spaces or when fighting enemies in foliage, amongst buildings, or really any application you can think of. You can also see people through walls with this, which is really cool. Granted, it only does work sometimes, so do keep that in mind. In addition to this, there's also the dual lens helmet, and that will give you night vision as opposed to thermal, but the dual lenses are nowhere near as good as the quad lenses, and they're right around the same amount of money, so I would just buy a quad lens, and then you'll get access to thermal, which can be very helpful against players or NPCs alike. These are an absolute must-own in my opinion. I think the quad lens is one of the best items you can buy for yourself in the entire game, so I would highly recommend this. Next up, we have the Pegasi Oppressor Mark II for $6 million to $8 million. Now, this is the only thing on this list that I think is like a super obvious no-brainer that you should probably have. And the Oppressor Mark II has had a long and rather ruinous history throughout the existence of GTA Online. I have hated this thing ever since it came out. However, it is impossible to deny its usefulness when it comes to grinding as efficiently as possible in GTA Online, and this vehicle has been nerfed quite significantly since it came out. The missiles got a pretty big nerf, or pretty serious regression, in the summer of 2022, and it also got a massive price increase in the spring of 2023. I feel now that it is priced a lot more fairly and is less usable for destructive, griefing, awful purposes. And that it truly is one of the best tools in the entire game for making money. It simply allows you to travel around significantly faster than other aerial vehicles when grinding things like CEO cargo or agency security contracts. Not so much in the actual aspect of the flight speed, but just in terms of you get on it and you go, whereas with a helicopter you have to get in, wait for it to spool up, take off, and then you can start flying for a much better top speed, granted, but I do think the Oppressor is just so useful for relatively close range things that you're going to have to go and do. It is very useful, and I do think you should honestly own one, and it does pain me to say that a little bit because I have hated the Oppressor for a very long time, but honestly it is very, very good. It's really hard to deny just how useful it is. Now, for an honorable mention, I've included the missile lock-on jammer, and the reason that I've done this is because Rockstar have made 50 new vehicles capable of being equipped with the missile lock-on jammer with the latest Agents of Sabotage DLC, as I'm sure you've probably heard, but if you haven't, it is pretty good news. This is obviously quite useful for protecting yourself in public lobbies from Oppressor Mark IIs, Toreadors, armed helicopters, as well as jets, or even just handheld homing launchers. Even if the vehicle isn't necessarily armored, not being able to be locked onto in the first place is a pretty huge bonus and can potentially save you from being attacked as well. In addition to them adding this, they've also put 26 new vehicles back on the websites, which is pretty cool. I'll link a video in the description down below in case you want to know what those vehicles are, but it is pretty awesome, and you can get the missile lock-on jammer on regular vehicles like the Ocelot XA21, for example, things like the Anis S80RR, the Anis RE7B, and many, many more vehicles, obviously. This is a great change, and I hope Rockstar continues this trend and allows us to put the missile lock-on jammer on more vehicles in the future. And at number one, the most helpful item that you need to own in GTA Online is the Up and Atomizer for $399,000 and available exclusively through the gun van now, unfortunately, and only in certain weeks as well. So make sure you guys are paying attention to the gun van every week if you don't have this thing already. But this can get your vehicle unstuck very easily, and it is extremely useful for getting vehicles like the Pounder Custom from the nightclub sale missions unstuck in clumps of trees, dirt, mounds, anything like that. It can help you get your vehicles out of being high centered and everything like that. But on top of this, the Up and Atomizer can also be used in some pretty fun aspects, like getting you to places that you otherwise would not be able to get to without a vehicle. For example, me and my friends recently used the Atomizer to get onto the roof of the Richmond Hotel, which is very cool. You can do this cool little jump, as you guys can see in the footage right here, and it is quite cool because you normally would not be able to get there without a helicopter. So you can use this to get to places that you otherwise would not be able to get to. Generally, this is a pretty fun weapon, and I do think it is worth owning, even if you don't use it for the useful applications like getting vehicles out of precarious positions and things like that. Anyway guys, that has been it for my picks for 10 helpful items that you need to own in GTA Online. Let me know what you thought of my list in the comment section down below, and comment a 7 if you made it to the end of the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you didn't, of course, and do consider subscribing if you guys are new. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care. Peace.